There's a quiet dignity that comes with age, earned not through ease, but through endurance. If you're over 70, you've likely seen wars end and begin again, held trembling hands through heartbreak, and found strength in days others would call too heavy to carry. You've shaped generations. You've made it through winters when others gave up. And yet, here's the harsh truth. Too often, society treats aging like a fading light. Quiet, invisible, less worthy. But let me be crystal clear. Just because the calendar added another decade to your life does not mean you stop deserving. In fact, there are 7 fundamental things you still deserve, even more so now. Some of these may surprise you. Others may hit too close to home. But each one of them, a right, not a reward. So before we begin, I want to ask you, what's one thing you believe people forget elders still need and still deserve? Share it in the comments. Your voice is part of the wisdom this world needs more of. And if you're someone who still believes life doesn't stop being rich after 70, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Join us. You belong here. Now let's talk about the first thing, because this one is personal. Number 1, respect. I want you to picture this. You walk into a doctor's office. You've lived through 7 decades, raised kids, maybe even grandkids, held jobs, paid taxes, served your country or community. And yet, as soon as you sit down, the nurse speaks slowly to you, like you're a child. The doctor barely makes eye contact. Your thoughts? Dismissed. Your time? Disregarded. Sound familiar? Respect is not a favor. It's not a pat on the head. It's a birthright, especially after 70. And yet, research from the National Poll on Healthy Aging revealed that nearly 1 in 3 older adults in the US say they've been treated unfairly or dismissed due to their age. That's not just rude. That's dangerous. When your voice is ignored, your care suffers. Your independence is chipped away, piece by piece. I remember a man named George, 82 years old, Korean war vet. He once told me, "I've been called young man sarcastically more times at 80 than I was ever called it at 20. It sounds like a joke, but it wore on him. You see, people didn't see George anymore. They saw a number, a wrinkle, a stereotype. But here's what I want you to remember. You deserve to be heard, not handled. Consulted, not condescended. And if you're watching this and thinking, yes, this happens to me, then say so in the comments. Let the world know you're not invisible. Let others know they're not alone. Share your moment. Let's make respect visible again. Are you ready for the next thing you still deserve? Number 2, purpose. Let me take you back to a front porch in South Dakota. It was late autumn, leaves falling. I was sitting with a woman named Mrs. Eloise Turner, 94 years old. Sharp as a tack. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "I didn't mind turning 80. I didn't mind losing my license. But the hardest thing was waking up one day and realizing no one needed me anymore." That cut deep, because it's something so many elders feel but rarely say. You see, after retirement, after the kids are grown, society tends to whisper a dangerous message. You've served your time. Now fade out quietly. But here's what science says. Humans at every age require a sense of purpose to thrive. According to a study published in JAMA Psychiatry, older adults with a strong sense of purpose had lower mortality rates, better physical health, and fewer cognitive issues than those who felt aimless. Purpose is not just nice to have, it's medicine. Maybe your purpose is sharing stories with your grandkids. Maybe it's mentoring a young neighbor, volunteering, gardening, writing letters, starting that painting hobby you never had time for. The form doesn't matter. What matters is that you still have something to give, and the world still needs it. Age doesn't take that away. Only doubt does. So here's my question for you. What gives your life meaning today? What gets you out of bed in the morning? Drop it in the comments. Inspire someone else who may be struggling to find their why. And if this message is hitting home, don't forget to subscribe. We're not done yet, and the next one is something many people don't even realize they're missing. Number 3, physical affection. Let me ask you something tender. When was the last time someone hugged you? Not out of obligation, but because they genuinely wanted to. Too often, as we age, The warmth of human touch becomes a fading memory. Children grow up and grow distant. A spouse passes. Friends relocate or leave this world. And slowly, our days become filled with silence and space, but not the comforting kind. Now, here's something that may surprise you. A study from the University of Miami's Touch Research Institute found that regular physical affection, like hugs, hand-holding, even a pat on the back, can reduce cortisol levels, lower blood pressure, and increase oxytocin, the hormone that helps us feel connected. In other words, you are biologically wired to need touch, no matter your age. But society doesn't often offer it to the elderly. Why? Because there's a silent, harmful assumption that affection becomes inappropriate or unnecessary with age. That intimacy, comfort, or even flirtation somehow expires at 70. Let me be clear, that is a lie. I once met a woman, Rose, at a senior center in Oregon. She told me, "Every Wednesday, I get my hair done, not because I care that much about style, but because for those 10 minutes, someone is washing my hair, touching my scalp, and I feel human again." That broke me. So let me say it now, to you watching this, you still deserve hugs. You still deserve hand-holding. You still deserve to be kissed, on the forehead, the cheek, the lips, if that's what your heart wants. And if you feel like physical affection has become a stranger in your life, drop a comment. Let this space be a reminder that you are not alone. You are not beyond love. You are not beyond touch. Stick with me. The next one is something you might not expect, but it's just as vital. Number 4, financial security. Let's paint a picture. Imagine two elders, both 75. One wakes up and makes coffee, then spends the day working on a community garden, planning a visit with grandkids, choosing what to cook for dinner. The other wakes up in a cold apartment, counting pennies to see if they can afford medication or groceries that week, but not both. Same age, same country, but vastly different lives. Now here's the reality. According to the National Council on Aging, over 17 million adults aged 65 plus in the United States are economically insecure, struggling with rising housing, healthcare, and food costs. That's almost 1 in 3. Let that sink in. After decades of labor, raising families, building industries, paying taxes, millions of older adults are left questioning whether they can afford to survive. That is not acceptable. Financial security is not a luxury. It is not a bonus. It is a form of dignity, and you still deserve it. Some people say, you should have saved more, but that ignores the medical bills, the market crashes, the partners lost, the pensions cut, the children who needed help. Life happens, and no one who gave their best for so long should be punished in their final chapters. So here's what I ask. If you've experienced financial pressure in your older years, whether it's rising rent, shrinking benefits, or simply having to choose between two necessities, comment below. Your voice may be the one that reminds others they're not struggling alone. And if this message resonates with you, subscribe. These are the truths we need to keep sharing, loudly. The next one we'll talk about, it's one of the deepest human needs. And yes, it still matters after 70. Number 5, romance and companionship. Picture this. Two people sitting on a park bench. Their hair is gray, their hands are wrinkled, and their eyes, still searching. They're laughing over something small. Maybe it's their first coffee date in years. Maybe it's the first time they've felt truly seen in a long time. Now, imagine the looks they get. Smirks, raised eyebrows, even the occasional whisper. Aren't they too old for that? Too old for what exactly? For butterflies in the stomach? For late-night phone calls and long walks under the stars? For feeling wanted? Here's what the science says. Emotional connection and romantic desire do not disappear with age. In fact, according to a study from the National Institute on Aging, more than 50% of people over 65 say that emotional closeness and companionship remain central to their quality of life. And guess what? Many still experience romantic love, even sexual desire, well into their 70s and beyond. But society rarely shows that. Movies cast romance as a young person's game. Ads are filled with wrinkle-free lovers. And when an older couple holds hands in public, people treat it like a novelty, or worse, a joke. Enough of that. You still deserve the spark, the shared laughter, the comfort of knowing someone chooses you every day. Whether you've been widowed, divorced, or never married, it's never too late to open your heart again. Romance isn't about age. It's about connection, and it's never out of reach. Have you experienced love or companionship later in life? Or are you hoping to? Drop a comment, share your story, or your wish. Let's normalize romance beyond youth. And don't forget to subscribe. The next one will touch on something deeper than relationships, something only you can pass down. Number 6. The right to be heard. Close your eyes and imagine this. You're at a family gathering. The room is buzzing. Children laugh. Adults argue about news or sports or politics. You open your mouth to speak, maybe to offer a memory, maybe to warn, maybe just to join in. But before you can finish a sentence, someone cuts you off. "Grandpa, we've moved past that," they say. Or worse, they smile politely and turn away. And just like that, you vanish. Not physically, but in presence, in value. This happens far too often, and it's a loss, not just for you, but for everyone else in the room. Because when elders are silenced, wisdom is lost. Hard-earned lessons, stories of survival, history passed down through lips instead of books, it all fades. The Library of Congress once said that when an elder dies, a whole library can burn. But sometimes, that fire begins before death, when no one bothers to listen. A Pew Research study found that over 60% of Americans aged 65 plus feel younger people rarely take their opinions seriously. That's not just a generational divide, that's cultural amnesia. You've lived through civil rights movements, wars, economic crashes, cultural revolutions. You have watched the world reinvent itself over and over. Your voice? It carries proof that change is possible, that resilience is real, and that life is bigger than headlines. Whether it's in your family, your community, or even online, you still deserve to be heard. Loudly, clearly, completely. So let's make this space a place where that happens. Drop a comment below. What's one life lesson you wish the younger generation would hear? Say it loud. Say it proud. And if you believe voices like yours matter, subscribe. We're almost at the final truth, and it's one that may surprise even you. Number 7. JOY. Let's be honest. When people think of old age, they don't picture dancing in the kitchen. They don't see someone laughing so hard they can't breathe. They don't imagine spontaneous road trips, late-night ice cream, or singing off-key to your favorite song from 1963. But why not? Somewhere along the way, society painted life after 70 as gray, not just in hair color, but in spirit. Quiet, routine, predictable, like joy had an expiration date. That's not just wrong, that's cruel. Because joy is not reserved for the young. Joy is a birthright at every age. And the older you get, the more you've earned the unapologetic right to chase it. In a 2022 report from AARP, nearly 48% of adults over 70 said they felt pressured to act their age, meaning stay reserved, quiet, even dull, just to meet social expectations. But here's the twist. Those who rejected that idea and pursued fun, hobbies, travel, or laughter reported significantly better mental health, energy, and even longer lives. There's no rule that says you can't learn to salsa at 75. No law banning paintbrushes, camping trips, or falling off a paddleboard and laughing about it. Joy doesn't retire when you do. I knew a man named Walter, 87 years old. Every Tuesday, he went roller skating. People laughed at first, called it a midlife crisis, though he was decades past midlife. He told me once, "Every fall reminds me I'm alive. Every laugh keeps me from aging faster." So ask yourself, when's the last time you allowed yourself real joy? Not duty, not obligation, but pure joy? Tell me in the comments. What's the thing that still brings you joy? Or what's something new you've always wanted to try? And if you believe it's never too late to smile wide, dance badly, or live fully, hit that subscribe button. Because aging doesn't mean slowing down. It means living smarter, fuller, louder. Now, let's close this out together. You've just heard 7 things, 7 truths, that you still deserve after 70. Not because you're lucky, not because someone grants them to you, but because you've lived, endured, and contributed more than most will ever understand. Respect, purpose, affection, security, companionship, voice, joy. These are not extras. These are essentials. But let me say this clearly. You are not just a chapter that's already been written. You are still the author. There are paragraphs left to write. Relationships still waiting to be formed. Lessons only you can teach. Adventures, yes, even now, that you still deserve to take. So if this video stirred something in you, don't let it fade. Drop a comment below. Tell me, which of these 7 things spoke to you the loudest? Which one have you been missing, and which one are you ready to reclaim? And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, because this space, it's for you, for your voice, for your stories, for your right to live the rest of your life as boldly as the life you've already lived. You are still worthy, still needed, and you, my friend, are far from finished.